Go live. Yep, we are live. Hey everyone, welcome to 23rd episode and third episode of 2021 on Tech Talks with Santosh. And today I have a really special friend of mine, and we are going to discuss about PWS. So welcome to the show, Pato.
Hey, thank you so much for giving me the space, Santosh.
Yeah, welcome. So let me just introduce. Sorry. I was sorry. It was just YouTube which was on. So yeah, let me just introduce Pato to you. So Pato is actually Google developer expert for Angular and web technologies. He's also an author and Women Tech Makers ambassador. He's MD Cloudinary. He's really active on Stack Overflow. He has been helping a lot of developers out there, and he's a mentor for Springboard and coach for Platzi. So welcome to the show. I mean, we are honored to have you here, Pato, and thanks for accepting the invite.
Oh, thank you so much. And he pretty much introduced myself, so thank you very much. You did an awesome job, and I'm just a regular guy like everyone else, just helping the community. But he's
Yeah.
the guy. Santosh is
Ah,
the guy. Like he does so much, and thank you for everything you do.
thanks a lot. So, in case you want to follow Pato, I think its handle is the in the my background. Just you can go to his Twitter handle, follow him. He has been doing a lot of things for the community. Whenever his next talk is, you can just uh, attend the conference or meetups wherever he's talking next. So, yeah. So let's start with the talk, the session, and the first thing the first question which we have is, what is PWA? So whenever someone comes to new to web and he sees what PWA, what's this? So how you will explain them what PWA is?
So this is a really good question because I think like PWS are amazing. I think they're like the future in some way. So PWA stands for Progressive Web Application, and they're only
Mm-hmm.
becoming more popular every day, right? We
Mm-hmm.
have big corporations like Google and Microsoft investing millions of dollars a year to make PWAs better. And the
Mm-hmm.
PWA is an app, right? Like a web app that you go to, for example, Twitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just have regular web application, but behaves like a native app on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a regular app that, for example, whenever you go to the browser, it gives you the option or displays a message that says add to the home screen, right? So you can
Mm-hmm.
actually sort of like install it on your phone, right? But you don't
Yeah.
have to go through the process of going to the Apple Store or Google Play Store. So you can easily install this web application into your phone without having to go through the hustle of all these extra steps.
Oh, that's cool. I have seen those lots. I mean, whenever I visit some portfolio or let's say some news websites or any like your blogging websites, they have this option add to home screen, and I can get it installed and it behaves like a native web app. And that's really cool, right? You don't have to actually. You said you don't have to write any extra code for that.
You actually have, and that's when it comes the whole thing with PWAs. The main thing of PWAs, like the brain, if you want to call it that way, it's the
Mm-hmm.
service worker, right?
Oh.
And I mean, the service worker comes with multiple things that you can do with it. A
Mm-hmm.
service worker, we have to define that first, right? What is a service worker?
Oh. Okay.
Service worker is a script, right? A piece of code that doesn't run in your website. It actually runs in the background of
Okay.
your browser. And just because it's running in the background, it allows you to do multiple things, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, you can get push notifications, right?
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to it that is running in the background, you're getting the push notifications that is coming from the server. But
Mm-hmm.
don't mistake push notifications with notifications, because notifications, they're actually notifications that come internally from the app, and push
Mm-hmm.
notifications, they come from the server. Meaning, let's say that one day you subscribe to a YouTube channel and then you get a notification saying, hey, Santosh came out with a new video. Then that's
Mm-hmm.
a push notification and gets handled by the service worker, right? In the background, doesn't matter if you have the web application open or not, the PWA.
Okay.
And just as an FYI, just for a PWA, it's a requirement to have a service worker, right? But for a web app, you don't have to have a service worker, but you can have a service worker and this web app not being a P2A. So you can use the service worker in just a regular app or a P2A, just as an FYI.
Wow, that's new for me because I thought for PWA you have to use. I mean, service worker and PWAs are related, but you, as per you, I think you can use service worker alone as well. That's good. That's good. Well, okay. So next question, right? So we have been hearing a lot about PWAs, but who uses PWA? Can you give us some examples or show some?
Yes, so Microsoft is investing a lot of money on PWAs and they're using them. And PWAs are not just applications that you're gonna install in your phone. You can install them
Mhm.
in your computer as well, right? For
Oh,
example, myself, I have Instagram installed in my computer as a PWA, which is
okay.
super cool, right? Because
Hmm.
I mean, sometimes I'm on my phone and I just don't want to be spending that much time on my phone. I just want to have my energy and concentration focused on my computer. So that's the reason why I have Instagram installed on my computer. Tinder,
Hmm.
um, the dating app, they use PWAs. Uber, a train company in the US called CSX. Starbucks, get your favorite coffee there if you want. Shopify, Shopify itself, which you may know, it's a company to
Hmm.
build e-commerce stores.
Yeah. Hmm.
They have a plugin to convert your store into a PWA, which
Yeah.
is this is super cool because I mean, whenever you go into a website like I don't know, like Nike, for example,
Hmm.
you see a lot of images, and this can take a long time to load. So thanks to the PWA, is going to help them. That's the
Hmm.
reason why they decided to come up with a plugin for Shopify store. React. You're able to use PWAs in React, right? Actually, create React app already comes with
Hmm.
a service worker. You just have to do a few more steps in order to make it a PWA. And Angular, just one command, boom, enter it, you know it, magic, you get a PWA, and many more. And Google, of course.
Ah, wow, that's glitter. So let's discuss about some of the advantages. So what if I don't have a PW and if what I add a PW, what are the advantages which we get?
Okay, yes, that's like the selling point with PWAs, right?
Hmm.
So with a PWA, you're gonna get a fast load, right? And what do I
Hmm.
mean with that? For example, whenever you go into a website, you know, Google says that your website should take less than 3 seconds to load, right?
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes it's like really hard to accomplish this because you have I don't know, really heavy images, or you have a lot of scripts loading and things like that, right? Or you're making like multiple calls to the server, right?
Hmm.
So thanks to PWA, since it uses caching strategies, right, you can accomplish a really fast load and better performance, right? Because whenever you go into a website for the first time, sure, the first time might take the regular time to load, but the second, the third, or whatever time is just going to be almost instant because you can use caching strategies to cache wherever you want. You can cache everything, or you can just cache certain things of your app. That way,
Hmm.
whenever you load it, the second time or the third time or whenever, those things
Hmm.
are going to load almost instantly, right? So that's an advantage.
Hmm.
It works offline, which is super interesting because I just want to share with you guys this. So I've been working for this company, and one of our clients is worldwide, right? And this client has a lot of users in third world countries, uh,
Hmm.
Mexico, India. They have people in Africa, and I know, for example, in Mexico, because I'm Mexican, that sometimes our internet connection is not the best one, or the signal that we have in our phone, right? So that's when PWS come in an advantage because they can work offline, right? And you might be
Okay.
wondering, well, like, what do you mean
Hmm.
offline? So yeah, so
Yeah.
typically with the caching strategies,
Hmm.
you have this website cached already in your phone. So if you ever go offline, right, and want to open the website, you can still see it, right, because of the caching, right?
Oh, okay.
And then I'm gonna jump into something later on about background sync and
Hmm.
works with offline, right?
Hmm.
And what else can you do with? Oh, another advantage of a PWA is the cost. This is super important
Okay.
as well because, for example, you know, if you want to come up with an app idea, you need
Hmm.
to get a application for Android and an application for an iPhone, right?
Right.
Which means either one developer doing both, which is gonna take longer and is double the cost, or you're going to have two developers developing one Android and one for iPhone, and that's going to as well increase the size. So PWA is really cost effective because we want just with one developer, for example, you can develop a PWA, right? So basically, if you know how to create a web application, you can have a PWA. If you know JavaScript, HTML, CSS, you can have a PWA. There's no need to even know any fancy framework like Angular or a library like React. No need. You can just create a PWA from zero without any other library or technology for your JavaScript. Another cool thing is they're like really secure, right? Because they work through HTTPS. That's a requirement, right, for the service worker. And service worker is, like I said, the brain of the PWAs. They're installable. So like I mentioned before, you can install them really easy. Now, related with this part, so whenever you go to a website, right, and it asks you, hey, want to add this to your home screen, right? You're installing the application, but some people want to make it look more fancy, right? And there's actually an npm package to make this installation process more pretty, if you wanna see it that way. For example, whenever you go to the Google Play Store, you see some screenshots and a full description of the application. There's an npm package that does the same for you, but for a PWA, right? So that's pretty cool. It just helps with the user experience and the UI. And a huge advantage as well of PWAs is SEO, right? Because at the end of the day, PWAs are a website. So if you know how to integrate SEO to a regular web application or to a regular website, you can do it with a PWA because that's what they are at the end, right? Which is a huge advantage because, for example, if you have an application for Android or iPhone, you don't really have SEO for them, right? You will have to create a website for them,
Exactly.
do the SEO magic that you want to add, and then finally see the advantages of SEO. But with PWAs, it's not. It's already integrated sort of for you, right? I mean, you have to code it, but and all that, but you don't have to go through a next step of creating something else.
Wow, that's cool. So I'll just ask one more question related to what we mentioned, right? So you said it. I mean, I don't have to create like Android app and iOS app, but PWA is actually something which can be installed from websites, right? I mean, browsers. So how is the support from different browsers? I mean, how well it is supported by Chrome, Safari, or
There's a website. Well, that's a really good question. There's a website that tells you actually, I forgot the name of it 100%, but it's like support. I think it's like PWA support. I forgot the name of the website, but it pretty much tells you if they're supported by PWAs. So check this out. Firefox supports PWAs. Edge supports PWAs because Edge is from Microsoft and they're heavy invested into PWAs. Google Chrome, of course. Safari, not that much. There's like a lot of things that are not being supported with PWAs around Apple products, and that's actually one of the downsides of PWAs, right? This side that literally Apple is not catching up. Apple is being a blocker for PWAs from the beginning. People were getting super excited last year because for some reason, we thought that Apple will be more like PWA friendly, and they actually did the opposite. They were like the opposite direction. They were like, no, we're just not gonna like them, you know. So that's the disadvantage right now. That just Apple needs to catch up. That's one of the disadvantages. Another disadvantage is that there's not a review process, right? So and you might be wondering, Pato, what do you mean with a review process? So whenever you create an application for Apple and Android, right, you are going to submit your application to Apple Store or Google Play, right? And there's going to be a review process, meaning that someone is going to check the code, someone's going to make sure that it has the pretty much follows the rules of the platform, right? With PWAs, there's no such a thing. As simply that you can create a website and you can put wherever you want in a website, you can put wherever you want in a PWA. It's the same thing, right? But With advantages, with disadvantages come advantages, right? Some people see this
Yeah.
as an advantage because sometimes the process of getting an application approved by Apple, it can take weeks, right? It can take.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen people waiting even a month to get their
Oh.
application approved. Yeah, so that's a. So it's depending on how you see it, could be a disadvantage or an advantage, right? And another disadvantage for PWAs is that they don't have the same access to system features as a native application. What do I mean with system features? I mean things related
Mm-hmm.
to your device, right? I don't know. I'm just going to give you an example. Maybe you don't
Mm-hmm.
have access to the speaker, for example, or you don't have access to, I don't know, the battery level or things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just an example, but hopefully you get the idea.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So let's move on to our next question. What can I do with service worker?
Oof. Okay, so like I told you guys before, a service worker is the brain, right,
Mm-hmm.
of a PWA. So a PWA also consists of a manifest, and the manifest it's the see this way what you're wearing, the clothes, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
telling the PWA the icon, the theme, and things like that that is gonna have thanks to the manifest, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the service worker is the muscle, right? Things that you can do with the service worker is you can cache network requests. You
Mm-hmm.
can handle this network request the way you want, right? For example, you can even do the caching related with the routing, right? So, for
Okay.
example, if you want, you can cache everything that is in the home screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some HTTP calls. And then you can let's say that now you navigate to users, then you might want to be 100% dynamic. You want to make sure that everything loads every time that you go to the page, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can come up with caching strategies depending on the route that you want to visit,
Okay.
which is super
Mm-hmm.
cool. What else? Oh yes, you can work with background sync API, which is like wow, I think it's like super cool. This background
Mm-hmm.
sync, basically what it does is related with the offline capability that I was telling you guys about. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, I'm just going to give you a real world example, right? In this application that I was telling you guys about that I've been working on, um, sometimes our users they don't have a really good signal and they're offline, right? But they still want to play around with the application, right? And let's say
Mm-hmm.
that they want to modify a list of products, right? But
Okay.
they don't have internet. So you might be wondering, well, what happens if they deleted an item but they don't have internet? How is the other user going to know that someone deleted that item, right? So the way it works is actually the following. So you are, let's say, in the jungle and you don't have internet, and then
Mm-hmm.
you delete that product, and then as soon as you go online, right? Background sync API is gonna trigger and it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
send data to the database or whatever. So that's how the background sync is handling the offline capability and making sure that everything gets updated once online. What else? What else? A thing that you cannot do with a service worker is have access to the DOM, right?
Ah.
And so you cannot modify your website with a service worker.
So you mentioned DOM, and there was a question related to it. So, do service worker help in managing memory over browsers for DOM?
Do service workers help in managing memory over browser for DOM? I don't know if I really understand the question, but you can. So a service worker can help you with a lot of things, right? I mean, you can come up like I said with a caching strategy, and you can use your local storage for like memory. I don't know if I'm understanding your question, but not, like you cannot do anything related with the DOM. Like you can
Uh-huh.
just, let's say if you're in your service working, you try to do document that query, I don't know, body, nothing
Mm-hmm.
gonna come up because he doesn't have access to them.
Ah,
So
okay.
keep that in mind. What else? What else? A service worker can cache not only network requests to like an API, but also any network request like images, CSS, JavaScript. So that's a really common practice, right? To cache, for example, all your CSS files and cache JavaScript and like some assets, for example, your images from your landing page. That way,
Mhm.
whenever you load the website, it's just going to load instantly instead of having to wait for the image to come back. And
Hmm.
what else? What else? Well, as thanks to the service worker, you can receive push notifications. Um, you can make your application go offline thanks to the caching strategies. And what else? What else? And I think that's about it. That's all the things that I remember that you can do with a service worker.
Of- that's cool. So related question. So what about the performance with PWAs?
So, like I was telling you guys, I think PWAs are great for performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, how many times have you gone to a website and it takes like 5, 10 seconds to load? So that's literally like against the law. Let's say that, right? You know, you just don't want your
Yeah.
website to actually load more than 3 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. That's like the
Yep.
Google suggests. And
Yep.
thanks to this, so the performance is going to be better because you're using caching strategies, like I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
Sure,
Mm-hmm.
the first time is going to take some time. I mean, it can take 3, 5 seconds. I don't know, depending on your web application. But from there, it should be like really instant, which is going to increase the user experience. And if the user experience increases, the more users you're going to have in your web application. So everything's like
Yep.
connected.
Yeah, agreed, agreed. Okay, so one question, so related to this. So I've heard, I mean, a lot of actually developers come up with this question. What in case I actually am using a PWA and I went offline, so everything is cached, and what will happen once I push a new version? So how it will be handled in PWS?
Yes, great question. So there's a way of you can do it two ways, right? The polite way is to let the user know that there's a new
Mm-hmm.
version, right? Sometimes you can just push the new version and it will just update, right? But the polite way is like, hey, there's a new version. I mean, you don't have to ask them, hey, you want
Mm-hmm.
a new version? No, you can just send them a message, just to be polite. Hey, there's a new version coming up. They click OK, and they see the new version, right? Angular,
Mm-hmm.
for example, they have an implemented way of doing this as well, right? So you can easily notify the user um, that there's a new version of your application, but it's 100% doable with a service worker in a PWA. Yes.
So what you prefer? I mean, so Angular has both ways, right? So if I remember SW update service, which is available in case I want to show them that, okay, do you want to actually go ahead and update, or I can use default, which is like it will prefetch, or let's say once you visit the website, it will after in background it will refresh. So what you will prefer if you have to decide that in keeping your users in mind, do we should we give them option that there is a new version, or should we just update it in background and let the website work?
What I like to do is to let them know, not really ask them.
Mhm.
Let them know, hey,
Okay.
there's a new
Mhm.
version, and just as soon as they click, okay, thank you very much, then they get the new version. But I think it's nice to be polite, right? I mean,
Okay.
you can even include what includes in the new version, what's new, right?
Mhm.
And I have seen that in multiple websites, which I don't think it's a good practice, that people don't add the changes. And
Mhm.
why changing the website? Who knows, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
just keep that in mind.
Ah, that's a good advice. So generally, what I've seen is, okay, there is a new version available, and just click refresh, and that's
I
okay.
mean, who knows? Yes.
Yeah. So what is happening? Yeah, that's great. So we should be telling them, okay, this is what which is changed, or this is something which is new feature, whatever you have done. Okay, cool. So we'll move to, of course, from service worker. Let's move to workbox. So what is workbox?
So workbox is a set of libraries, right, that give extra power to your service worker or to you whenever you want to work with service workers. This is not necessarily for PWAs, right? Like I
Mhm.
said, service workers, they go hand to hand with PWAs, but you can use workbox in a web application that is not a PWA, right? The same for a service worker. So
Mhm.
for my personal opinion, a web application is just a web application. A PWA, it's a web application with superpowers, right?
Okay.
Workbox specifically, it's giving superpowers to your service worker or giving steroids to your service worker, right? You can do
Mhm.
the same with Workbox and a service worker, but workbox is gonna make your life easier, right?
Hmm.
Because a lot of the things, I'm just gonna give you an example. Sometimes back in the days when NGRX and Redux happened, we had to do everything by hand. You have to
Yeah.
set up the store, you have to set up the reducers, and all this boilerplate that it was like really tedious. It's the same with service workers, right? Service workers, they have
Yeah.
multiple life cycles, and I mean, if you want to code them, you're gonna have a pretty decent size of a file. But
Hmm.
thanks to Workbox, makes everything easy for you. To come up with caching strategies, what kind of assets do you want to cache, and things like that. It just makes it easier.
Okay.
And you can do, for example, pre-caching with Workbox as well. You can do runtime caching. You can do, like I mentioned before, caching strategies. You can do, it's easier to debug things, right?
Hmm.
And it has awesome support by Google. Actually, Workbox was created by Google, right? And once again, you can incorporate background sync API into your flow thanks to Workbox as well.
Oh, wow. That's just a question. I mean, how can we integrate Workbox with Angular? I mean, in case you have any idea, because
Uh,
I've never seen any integration. So
there's ways. Like I think that's a really good question. So I think I just need to come up with a blog because it's just
yeah.
hard to explain the steps. But it's essentially almost the same as you incorporating Workbox into a regular PWA that is not Angular based, right? It's
Hmm.
essentially the same steps. But just give me an idea of creating a new blog. I think it will be cool to incorporate Workbox into a Angular PWA. And actually, like last night, I was like, I cannot believe that I haven't created a article on how to integrate Workbox into a regular PWA because I have a lot of articles around that. Actually, I can
Hmm.
share with you guys in my screen
Yeah.
all the articles I have written. But like, I need one for Workbox and just pure PWAs, and maybe come out one for Angular PWAs and
Hmm.
Workbox. Thank you,
We'll
Santosh.
be looking.
I'll give you the
Yeah.
shout out.
So we'll be looking forward to that. I mean, because I'll be interested to see how it behaves. I mean, so just to get an idea, so if I'm using Workbox, I have to still use Service Worker, but it's like on top of it, Workbox adds more functionality. This is what.
So Workbox handles that for you. Workbox handles all that for you, and so it is using a service worker, 100%. Yes, it's just giving superpowers to that service worker,
Mhm.
right? And
So
just and by superpowers, I mean it's really superpowers to the developer, sort of, because it makes our life easier. It increases the developer experience. So instead of doing everything manually and having to type, it just does a lot of things for us in a shorter way.
okay, so just one question, which is of course not related to Workbox. So we saw a lot of things going around the Chrome last year. There was something known as TWA, Trusted Web Activities. Do you think, I mean, we can incorporate those TWAs with PWAs? Are they related? Just a question. I mean,
Can you repeat that again?
TWAs, Trusted Web Activities. So is
Uh-huh.
it possible to have PWAs and TWAs work together?
That's a good question. I actually don't know. I haven't tried it, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
And I just don't like telling people, oh, yes, and when it's not true or when I don't know. So, I mean, that's a good question. I can do research on that and maybe
Uh-huh.
just post a tweet about it and just
Yeah,
tag you
sure.
and then you like retweet it.
Cool. Yep. So we have one more questions, and why Workbox? I mean, why should I go ahead with Workbox in case I already have Service Worker, right? Which is default.
Why? Well, let me put it this way. If you have the time and the patience and just feel like doing things from 100% from scratch, then use a pure service worker, like just make everything manually, right? So here
Mm-hmm.
goes the question. Let me flip the question to you. If you
Mm-hmm.
were to create an application, will you use React, Angular, and so on, or will you build this application 100% just using vanilla JavaScript?
Of course, I'm comfortable with Angular, so I'll use Angular.
Or React, right? So it's the same with
Yeah.
Workbox. Workbox helps you to make things faster and easier, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
instead of typing everything, Workbox is gonna do a lot of these things for you.
Ah, that's cool. So, is there any way to get it installed? I mean, it's I think it's an npm package, right? Which you can
Yes,
install.
and Google actually has. Oh, I think my computer just froze. Let me actually share the link with you.
Uh-huh.
Workbox Google, so you can like post it in the comments or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Hold on, where's the private chat? I think this is where I go. So that's the link on how to get started with Workbox. So you can, I don't know if you can like show it in the comments or something like that.
Yeah, I just posted it. Okay, cool. So we still have like few more minutes as Pato have to actually leave for a meeting. So we try to keep it short. But let's say we have few 4 minutes. So I'll ask few more questions. So let's say if I am creating a new web app, so should I bother including PWAs when I start creating my application, or it's like after I have like I if I need PWA, it's like, or it should be by default. What do you think?
I actually have done both. I have
Mm-hmm.
started an application with PWA from the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have done it afterwards.
Okay.
Honestly, the extra work that you have to do, it's minimal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, you have to, and when I say you have to, because we're in 2021, you have to make your website responsive, right? And
Yeah.
PWAs rely on you making your website responsive because they are mainly, not all the time, they're mainly used to be installed in your phone. Like I said, you can install it in your computer, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you install it on your phone, you want to make sure that it's mobile friendly, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're by doing that, you're already doing a lot of the work for a PWA. Then I can show you guys a manifest, which is part of a PWA, something that is really important, and it's really small, super short, and it's something that literally takes you 10 minutes to do. So I
Ah.
might as well just knock it out from the beginning. Now the service worker part takes a little bit longer, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that you're going to be modifying as you go, right? If you just build the PWA from scratch, and I mean the service worker from scratch, then if you add new things to your website, then you might have to add the things that you want to cache as you go, right? Because if you have one page today, then you just add it to the service worker. If you have 3 pages tomorrow, then you were gonna have what things you want to cache. With workbox, that can be simplified, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
something that you have to keep like updating. But like I said, it's not rocket science. It's not complicated. It doesn't really take time. So it's a huge investment because it's just gonna help the user experience. Which I mean, the user experience can
Yeah.
translate to more money, right? In a lot of the
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah. Cool. That's really great. And yep. So that was in case any there is any question you can ask. But we are done for the day. So we still have few more minutes left. Let me just so next question. So anything you want to promote here, Pato?
Yes. The first thing, well, I'm gonna show you guys. Let's share screen.
Yep.
Hmm, okay. Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes. It is
Okay,
visible.
perfect. So these are articles that I have written around PWAs. I
Mm-hmm.
have one into two PWAs and service workers, how to add a notification to your PWA, how to add a push notification using Firebase. Just remember that a notification and a push notification are not the same. How to
Mm-hmm.
do social media sharing in your PWA, because whenever you are in an application and you want to share something, you get this beautiful menu that tells you
Mm-hmm.
hey, like, want to share this blog into Twitter or something like that. Well, I'll show you how to do it, because you can't do this you can do social media sharing, but it behaves differently in an application that is installed in your phone or a PWA. So I show you how to do that and how to create a PWA with JavaScript, right? All
Okay.
these are the things that you need to know to get started with PWAs. So just keep that in mind.
Can you share
Something
the
I
link?
want to show you as well is this super tiny, simple website that I have right here, right? I mean, it's like something super simple. Basically, this is how a service worker looks like. I
Okay.
have only a few of the life
Can you
cycles.
zoom? Yeah, Pato. So can you zoom a little? I mean, it's not visible. So
Yeah.
probably.
Can you see
Yeah.
now? Better?
Uh,
Awesome.
yep.
So, for example, right here, I'm giving the cache name, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I change the cache name, for example, if I change it to 1.0, That's when people get a notification saying, "Hey, there's a new version of your application," right? Um, in this case, as you can see, I'm doing manually. I'm telling the website what to cache. So I'm caching the install style CSS, the index HTML,
HTML.
and all these things that you see right here, all these manual process that I added, that I'm teaching you how to do these things in the articles that I wrote. You
Mm-hmm.
are gonna have to do it manually, right? But with workbox, a lot of the things, instead of, let's say, how many lines is this file, like 40, with workbox is probably gonna be like 20 or so,
Oh.
right? So it's way shorter. Now if you go here to application, you see that I have a service worker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is another service worker that comes from Firebase messaging, so don't really pay attention to that. What else? If I go to manifest, this is the, like I was telling you, like the clothing that the application is using. So this is literally a JSON file. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you have my first PWA. That's gonna be the name of my application when I install it. That's the short name, right? I can choose a theme color. So whenever you go into an application and the very top bar,
Uh-huh.
where your time is, it usually displays like black or whatever color. Where I'm making it red, right?
Oh.
In this case, background color, I'm just specifying that color, and I'm giving an icon, which in this case is a rustler, right? And this is the icon that is going to appear in your phone. I'm sorry, just put my phone away. This is the icon that's going to appear in your phone for you to open and use the application. So just keep that in mind. And of course, you have to put multiple sizes, because there might be different sizes of devices that people are using your application in. And if we go to cache storage, as you can see, here's the name of my cache. So it says
Mm-hmm.
PWA API, which matches. If I go here to resources, it matches this name, as you can see.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And where was? Oh yeah, an application. If I click in here, I can see the files that I specified to cache. Remember that I told you guys, hey, I'm caching the index HTML, I'm caching the index JS, and I'm caching my styles. That's where it is. So if I go back here, these files are specified in my caching.
Wow, that's good.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
If you can share the link, I'll just share that in chat, and I will add
Yeah.
that into description as well.
Actually, if I go here and you can go to that. That's the application that I just visit, right? Like I said, it's like super super tiny application, with the purpose of showing you the things related with PWAs. But if you go
Mm-hmm.
there, actually, let me go myself. I didn't have permissions to this, but for example, I don't know if you can see my screen, but it
Uh,
says add to home screen right
ah,
here, right?
okay.
Can you see it?
It's too small, but yeah, there is something.
Yeah, but essentially you click in there, and then it gives you the option to install,
Ah.
and then you click install, and it just adds it to your home screen, right? I mean, you should be seeing that yourself if you go to the website, and then I can just add it, and here it is. But I can give you another example. For example, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Do you see this tiny icon right here?
You are sharing your chat, so
I'm sharing the chat.
we are having some personal discussion. But what you are doing? You are sharing that. Just kidding
So
around. Just
can
kidding.
you see Twitter, right?
Yes.
Do you see this icon right here that I'm pointing?
Yeah.
That's when it's telling me to install at
Ah.
Twitter, at the PWA from Twitter. So I can click install, boop, and
Oh.
then it just takes me here. And now this is what you're seeing right here. This is my PWA,
Oh,
right?
that's cool.
And so yeah, that's what I have for you guys. Do you guys have any questions?
Okay, so I don't think so. We have any questions here right now. But in case you have any more questions, as Pato have to leave for his meeting, you can just connect with him on his Twitter handle. It's here in the background. You can see at the red Dave Pato, and feel free to ping him whenever you have any questions related to PWA. And yeah, that's it. So
Hopefully
anything
you guys
else?
enjoy my talk. I love PWAs, and hopefully you love them too. I think they're all amazing. So try to use them as much as you can. Um, I mean, PWAs are cheap, right? Like a regular
Yeah.
website, it's just an extra step, and you're gonna give superpowers to your application. You're gonna increase the user experience, which why not, right? So yeah, that's all I have. Thank you so much,
Cool.
Santosh.
Yep. Thanks for joining, Pato. So, just to give you an update in next week we have two episodes, not one. And we are going to have first episode on 25th, as 26th is holiday here in India. So, I don't miss any time or date if I'm free. So, we are going to have one of the contributor of Webpack. He is part of Webpack and Webpack CLI team, and he's a student. So and he's from India. So I'm really proud to have him on the show, and he will be talking about the Webpack, of course. So on 25th, 10 p.m. IST, same time, and on 29th we are going to have Jack from Narwal, and he will be talking about NX. So those two episodes coming up next week, and see you there. So see you, bye everyone, and have a great weekend and enjoy your time.
Thank you. Bye bye.